are profiteers.
Stop
Using AI for genocide, Mustafa.
I was never, informed that my technology work was being used in this way. Or that is being used to spy on and track people in Gaza for targeting and bombing. They call it responsible AI department to basically sanitize and whitewash its crimes using AI. Our work continues and we're going to continue applying this pressure. My name is Ibtihal Abu Al-Saad. I was born, raised in Morocco and studied computer science in university afterwards, and then I worked at Microsoft for 4 years.
Could you describe your role and responsibilities at Microsoft?
I was a software engineer within the Microsoft AI organization, and so I worked specifically on speech-to-text products, which meant all sorts of Microsoft tools that converted human speech into transcriptions and captions and so on.
What was the turning point that made you decide that an action had to be taken?
Throughout 2024, different reports and news started to reveal the depth of Microsoft's complicity in the genocide by Israel in Gaza. And little by little, I started learning more about how deeply entrenched Microsoft was in the system of genocide and apartheid. But I think a turning point for me was in February of 2025. There was a new report by AP News which specifically named how Microsoft's language AI technologies, which is what I worked on, which was my department, how that is being used to spy on and track people in Gaza for targeting and bombing purposes. So I think that's when I realized, okay, even the aspects of this company that you think are unrelated to Israel's use, are being provided to the Israeli military and government in some ways.
What internal mechanisms did you witness that, in your view, directly connected Microsoft to Israeli military?
As employees, a lot of this was hidden from us. Again, I worked within Microsoft AI, and there was never any information being provided to me about our partnerships and our contracts with the Israeli military and government. The company would boast about all the cool contracts that help with accessibility needs, that help empower organizations in different countries. But personally, I did not get to see this involvement because, again, it's not something that workers are exposed to and asked to consent to working on. So a lot of my knowledge on Microsoft's complicity had to come from external reports.
Microsoft brands itself as a leader in ethical AI and responsible innovation. Based on what you have seen, do these values actually exist inside the company?
Not at all. I would say it's actually very dangerous how Microsoft uses these, they call it responsible AI departments, to basically sanitize and whitewash its crimes using AI. Essentially, Microsoft has succeeded in making the world believe that, unlike other big tech companies, they're the good ones, they're the ethical ones. A lot of people had this perception that Microsoft is actually the good guys in big tech, and it's in part due to these initiatives where they pretend that they care about human rights and ethical uses. But the reality is, when you look at these departments, they never look at how Microsoft technology is being used in actual genocide, which is the gravest human rights violation you can commit. So the short answer is no. I think these initiatives serve to help Microsoft with its PR and its false image as a responsible company.
Since you spoke publicly, how did Microsoft react internally when you began to raise these ethical questions?
For a while, Microsoft was just repressing any employees that tried using internal mechanisms to flag these issues, whether it's like questions to executives, whether it's like posts in internal forums. Microsoft would launch like HR investigations against people that just like voiced concerns about complicity in the genocide. Microsoft fired Hussam and Abdu, two employees, for hosting a very peaceful vigil to honor the martyrs in Gaza. So for a while, Microsoft was just going with repression and repression. But recently, after so many escalations and so many people disrupting, not just myself and Vanya, but even after us, like there's been conference disruptions, there's been an encampment at Microsoft HQ, there's been a sit-in in the office of the president. So as a result of these escalations and the increase in pressure, Microsoft finally, for the first time, announced that it was going to end one of its contracts with the Israeli military and government, which is its contract for surveillance with Unit 8200. And so, we consider that as a campaign as No Azure for Apartheid. We do see that as a win. Like it's showing that workers' pressure and the public's pressure can get these companies to limit their complicity. But at the same time, it's important to clarify, Microsoft has so many contracts and this is only one of them. So our work continues and we're going to continue applying this pressure, continue disrupting their events, using methods that they don't like on Microsoft campus until they end all complicit contracts.
What message would you give to other employees working currently in large tech companies?
I think we can no longer use the excuse that we don't know, or maybe I'm in a good team that's not complicit, because what keeps happening is you keep thinking, okay, this division is innocent, and then bam, the news come out, and actually Microsoft also provides this technology to Israel. For example, like its augmented reality products, which is HoloLens. Like people think about that as like games, fun, but it's also providing that to the Israeli military for training and simulation purposes. So this is to say, one is this idea that, I didn't know is no longer valid, because everything has been, almost everything has been exposed. And sadly, like more will probably be exposed from Microsoft. But the second thing is, like an important message is you don't have to be public or, go viral to make a change, in Microsoft's complicity. Like, for example, for my protest that was televised and mediatized, that was only possible because many anonymous employees within No Azure for Apartheid, which is our campaign, also contributed behind the scenes to the messaging, to the logistics, to like the press and media efforts. And these people never had their names, announced to the public. They didn't get in trouble with Zionists. So what I'm trying to say is like a reason I hear a lot for why people are not taking action is I can't afford to be on the news, and for Israelis to target me. But you don't have to. Like the majority of the work to apply this pressure, for example, the encampment, a lot of the work was not by the people that were at the encampment. It was, again, behind the scenes, all the planning. So you have a duty to do something because it is your work that is being used by Microsoft to enable genocide and apartheid.
Since Microsoft is complicit in this genocide, how should we hold them accountable?
I'm glad to see that it's starting to happen, that international law is starting to pay attention to the complicity of these corporations, not just, governments. Like the recent, or not so recent now, like a couple of months, Francesca Albanese had a report that specifically outlined how tech corporations and other corporations profit from the genocide by Israel in Gaza. So this is, I guess, like a newer effort of, how does the law come into play? And I think international law has an obligation to, the same way that like state leaders and people in like political positions will be, I guess like held accountable, will be judged based on how they contributed. The same holds for these executives at these companies that signed on these contracts, that met with Netanyahu, that met with Unit 8200 to give them customized technological weapons.
If you could deliver one message to Microsoft, what would it be?
We will not stop the pressure. We will be a nuisance. We will be hurting their PR. We will be disrupting their events until they meet all our demands. One contract being done is not enough. Firing employees is not going to stop us. I think they have to realize that this movement is never going to be over unless they meet our demands to end all complicity aspects with Israel.